Hey, how's it going? Bonzaga here again. It's been a couple weeks since my last video. Lots of stuff happening. I don't exactly remember where I left off in the previous one. I think I was testing some of this field of view shader stuff, and I got something I like a little bit more. It's still not perfect for me. So I'm gonna. I think this is gonna be like a continuous um, struggle until I find something that I absolutely like. Let me actually show it to you real quick. Let me get rid of some of these things and then show you kind of the progression of where I went with it and stuff like that. And so I don't have tons of shader experience. I just have enough that I can go around on the internet and copy and paste and see what happens. I'm starting to understand it a little bit more. I've been taking some video tutorials on shaders, shader math, and shaders for developers and stuff like that. So it's coming along nicely. But yeah, so let's see. I think this is probably where I left off before I had this, this radial mesh being generated. That I learned how to do off of another set of tutorials, and it creates this kind of hard edge light area, which is pretty cool. But I wanted it to be a little bit softer, so I actually added this Gaussian blur kind of effect. So you can see it does soften it a little bit. It's not, and I was happy with that. Then I was doing some tutorials and found out this cool concept of these waves where you can use you can get to the center of the texture, and then you can do like these ripple effects. And instead of a ripple effect, I just wanted one wave that started from the center, kind of like a radial gradient, basically. And so it lerps it between that and that radial gradient to get like this nice, radial offset with the Gaussian blur, and it looks pretty good. The only thing is this weird edge around the light where the light's not at. And so, like I said, it's a moving target for me, and eventually I'll get something I really like. Because as you can see, I actually have a character on there now. So with the character, it wasn't really too difficult. Because I had this character controller here. I've also cleaned up a few things. Basically, the way I'm designing this game is I want this game to be eventually I want it to be multiplayer, and so I'm designing it as a multiplayer game where you are the host, and so you are hosting your own multiplayer game, and so it's sending everything through the Unity, the new multiplayer stuff that Unity's developing, and so yeah. But so basically, what I did for that was I just swapped out. I added this medieval character. So one thing to take, and I also downloaded some stuff from the Unity Asset Store because it was Black Friday. So I downloaded this Animancer thing, which it's okay. I don't know if I don't know. I'm still kind of on the fence whether or not I need it versus it's just fun to have. Because I've done tons of work with the animation controller and I know it pretty well, and so I don't. I mean, I don't know. I'm still on the fence about this specific plugin, but anyway, let me show you some things. So these are this. So when this character begins the game, he is. It's blank. He's just got this character male. It's basically just got the skeleton here. It doesn't have any meshes on it, and so what I did is I created. This is kind of a neat thing I did, and I'll explain why. So these meshes are just the skin mesh renderers of these pieces. And so if I look down at the sources for these things, you can see that even though it's just a single part, it's got a skeleton, it's got all this stuff, like all of the mesh definition and things like that. And so it ends up being like maybe 300K or something. And there's like 100 of them. There's like 90 megs worth of meshes here. And so this, on the other hand, is like 4K. And so what I did is I created this thing where this mesh reference, where what it does is I click this button here, the generate asset button, and I'm going to switch this out because right now it generates both the bone reference and it generates the mesh reference. And so what it does is I pass in the source skin mesh renderer. It creates a new object. It adds a component as a mesh register or a renderer, and then it maps the bones and creates a bone reference, and then it deletes it like after it's created it, and so it creates it a prefab of it. And so, so basically what it does is it goes and it grabs all of the mesh renderer component of this mesh, creates a prefab of it, and then deletes the prefab from the scene. And then what it does is it creates this this bone reference, and so which is this default male. And what that does is it shows all of the different bones, their indexes of the different bones, and then which is the root bone as well. And so currently I've got it where this scriptable object generates it onto this scriptable object. And so whenever I like close and open the game or the editor, this is actually reset because it's the way I've got it programmed. It doesn't actually save it to itself, like it's saving it to another object. And so I've got to basically create this editor so it will modify its own instead of modifying like another object basically, and then that will fix that. But anyway, so what this does is it has a reference to the skinned mesh renderer and a reference to the bones, and then I have it set up so that if it's only in the Unity editor. So like if it's in the Unity editor, then it has reference to the source, it has reference to all this script to generate the mesh and stuff like that. But if it's not in the Unity editor, like for example, if I export it, then this code doesn't even exist. And so all it has reference to is the bones and this destination game object is what that's. So there's source and destination. Anyway, so what that does now is in this attached mesh, and eventually I'll break this out into its own whole system, but currently I'm just slapped it on here. So you have a reference to your mesh transform and a reference to the biped, and a list of the meshes that you want to add. And so it just basically says, okay, so and it basically does the same thing that this does, where it generates a mesh and then attaches it instead of creating a prefab. It actually generates a mesh from the source and then attaches it to the biped. And so by doing that, it goes through each of these things and it generates it through code, through at runtime. And so so currently what this does right now is it just adds it to this guy, and then that's it. There's no other swapping or anything like that. But eventually that's what the plan is that I'll be able to swap out. So right now I've got a helmet. So if I take off the helmet, let's say delete that, and then I add I guess I could have just added it, but I think I've got legs for some reason. I thought I had right here, cloth. Okay, so cloth body and cloth gauntlets, let's say, and no helmet. All right. So I'll just show that it actually does, do what I was saying it does. And so, it doesn't look like it did, actually. Hang on, let's see why. So, cloth gauntlets is pointing to cloth gauntlets. That's weird. Oh, because I didn't save the scriptable object, or the prefab. Okay. So, now this time it'll work. So there I've got the cloth gauntlets, no helmet, and cloth body, and it goes with the. This is all modular, so you can swap them all out. It's pretty cool. So that's one cool thing. And then with the animations, it just uses a basic script here. I believe I put it. Nope, that's not it. Where did I put it? Client controller, maybe? I'll just look in here. I think maybe it's on the Animancer. Attach mesh. It's just a component. Okay, yeah. Let's go back and check on the client. All right, so movement. So, okay, yeah. So basically I'm checking if the magnitude of my velocity is greater than, some small amount. Making sure that the entity is not null, the Animancer is not null, and that we're not already playing a clip. And then I'm having it transition to the run animation. Now, if it is not greater than that small amount, basically if we're standing still, then it'll play this idle animation. So that's how you get this transition between running and idle. The other thing I did was I did this whole camera thing where you can change it. It moves the camera and changes the field of view based on the aspect ratio. I'm still not 100% done with this yet. I still want to perfect it a little bit, where it'll actually scale some of the stuff based on the aspect ratio, but it's pretty good. It works all right. It's good enough, I guess, for now, for testing. But yeah, so that way you kind of get the same amount of viewable space on your screen, whether you're horizontal or vertical aspect ratio. So let's see, what else did I do? I started working on, you can see he's got this animation, right? So when it's in the editor, there are no animations. He's got this Animancer component, but doesn't have anything. Then when I hit play, he's got the two animations between running and idle, and so those are the 200 acts idle, 200 acts run forward. And so how that is decided is I've got this concept of a weapon. And so this is weapon definition. It's acts 200 base. That's what I called it. And so so this is just beginning, so it's not fleshed out as much as it will be. But my idea was that I wanted my weapons to have I wanted your run animation or your idle animation to change based on the weapon you were holding. So for example, if I have, dual wield weapons, he'll be standing idly different or running different. And then if I have like a big or heavy hammer, or if I have a bow and arrow, so it's like, I'm talking about all these physical weapons, but eventually I do also want to have magic in here as well. But so based on the weapon he's wearing, I wanted his idle and his other animations to change. And on top of that, I also want an interactive animations where, if I run over to a door, he's not going to have like open door animation until he opens the door. That door will give him the animation to use to interact with it. Okay, and that's how I wanted to do like a lot of these things, is that when you interact, like if it's an interactable object, it will tell you which animation to use, and if you don't have it, then it'll give it to you. And so that's kind of the idea behind all this. And so, and then to further break it down, I thought, okay, so I want my movement to actually be separate from my weapon. And so, a 200 axe movement could be used on multiple types of weapons, not just a 200 axe, but maybe like a rake, or maybe a shovel or something, or just throwing out examples that the movement, the idle and the running, and maybe some of the little, other animations, like interactive animations, will be part of your movement animations. And then your weapon will have a reference to that movement. And so this 200 axe base uses the axe movement set of animations. And then on top of this, it will also have some abilities. And so the way I'm doing the abilities is I've got like these kind of 200 axe long, 200 axe quick. And so you can see I've updated the weapon. So this is like the quick attack. So the idea is that anywhere I'm looking, I can just tap the screen wherever I want, and it'll attack. Wherever I'm facing, it'll do a quick attack. And then if I long press, it'll do like this long attack. And so I'm still working on some more ability ideas. One idea was to have like it as you're attacking and keep on fighting and fighting and fighting, then like you'll have this charge that will build up, and then when you long press, it'll release that, that charged up ability. That sounds kind of cool to me. So I'll just run around and attack things, and then some kind of bar will fill up, and then I can use my ultra move or something like that. But so yeah, this ability data is telling me which icons to use. It's going to have like a cooldown, a range, some information stuff, to display on the UI and things like that. And then I also want to have like an area definition. So for example, whether it's like a range, 2 feet in front of me with like a circle, or 2 feet in front of me with like a box, or just like a line, like maybe it just does like a trajectory or something. But I'm planning on doing something like that, where I have like an area effect, where my weapon does damage, or where this ability does damage. And I might even do something, some kind of chaining type thing, where like every time I hit attack, it does one ability, but then it goes to like the second ability or the third ability, or it may not just have like one specific action it does. It might do like a sequence of actions. The other thing I want to do is some kind of an awareness, like a situational awareness of, because just pressing one ability gets kind of old, like, right? Like you don't want to just see the same attack like every single time you press attack. And so my thought is that I want to make it aware of what's happening in the environment around him. So for example, if I'm facing someone on this side and I hit attack, he'll do an attack, but then if I turn and attack, I want that to know that I just did that, that I attacked someone in front of me, then I turn and attack somebody behind me, and I want the animation to reflect that. I want it to do something cool, like, some kind of cool effect or some kind of cool move, or, for example, let's say I'm attacking something and I know that in the moment that I attack it, it's going to die. I want it to change the animation instead of like just doing a regular dumb like auto attack or whatever. I want it to do some kind of cool, maybe he'll kick him instead, or maybe they'll like, do some kind of over the head slaughter move, or, just something cool. So it's like, even though I'm just pressing attack, like, based on my positioning within my enemies, and based on the weapon I'm using, and based on the situation, like I want it to look cool, like choreographed or something, and so, yeah, that's going to take some time, I think, to get right. But anyway, that's kind of the direction I'm going with the abilities. I've got some abilities going on. I've got the weapons starting to flesh out. So yeah, so you can see I've got this Polytope kit, which is things are amazing. Like I've got tons of his. I think I have like almost every single one. I bought like all of his assets. I don't know if I'm going to use them all in my game, but at least it's there as an option. And then I've got like a bunch of animations that I'm bringing in as well. So what I do is I usually will I have like a separate project that I bring all my assets in, and then I'll see what they do and see if I like them and stuff. And then if I do, then I'll export it and bring it into my project. So that way I don't clutter my project with like shitloads of plugins that I don't ever want to use in the end. But so far that's it. I've got movement, I've got the abilities and weapon types coming in. He obviously doesn't have a weapon, and he doesn't have the animations. I haven't put all that together yet, but it's getting there. And then when he goes into this dungeon, he goes to the exit, then he spawns, it regenerates a new dungeon. It's only two rooms long, but it knows that he got to the end room, which is pretty cool. And then it does like this reset where it spawns a new dungeon. So I probably won't do that. In the game, I'm planning to have like specific dungeons for a purpose. So for example, for crafting, let's say I want to craft some kind of item. I'm going to have to go gather the resources, and the resources are in the dungeons. And so by going in here and killing mobs, maybe there'll be some like resource nodes I have to go in and like mine that's only in certain dungeons. And so then I'll go in and complete the dungeon. And once I complete the dungeon, then it'll like exit me out of the dungeon and present me with the resources that I've earned while I was in there. And so then then I'll be able to go to the overworld and I'll be able to do my crafting and stuff like that, create my items, and go back and so that's kind of like it's basically it's similar to like this game called Raiders that I played a long time ago, where all of the recipes in the game like showed you the ingredients, and then if you hovered over the ingredients, it would show you like which zone and like which NPCs would drop those ingredients. And I really enjoyed that aspect of the game where if I wanted to create something like some cool item, I would have to go hunt down that particular resource in order to get it. And I really enjoyed that. And so I'm planning on doing something like that where if you want to craft a certain item, you need to go gather those resources in order to do that. And so that means like going to a certain dungeon or going to like a certain levels in a dungeon. And so yeah, I think I'm planning having some kind of exploration system where, let's say for example, this is like some kind of castle dungeon or something, So then it'll start out like like level 1 or floor 1 or whatever. And then as you continue to go down, it'll get more difficult and get more difficult. But then also, you'll have different resources available to you. And so maybe in the lower levels, like you'll be able to gather the more difficult resources that are only available on that level in that particular dungeon. And so I think that'll be kind of fun. And let me think what else. I'll probably have not inside the dungeons. I mean, maybe I'll have like some kind of a portal stone. Which reminds me of like Dew Valley, this Dew Valley game I played where you could go down in the dungeons and then they'd have like a portal stone that you would unlock there where then you could go to that level again, like from the entrance, which is pretty cool. So maybe I'll have something like that where like you enter the dungeon and maybe there'll be like some portal stones around it where you could just either, go out and go to the first level, or you could go to a portal stone and go to like level 5 or like 20 or something like that. So that way you don't have to like go down every single time you go into that dungeon. But then you also that way I think that would be kind of cool. It'll give you like an access panel to jump from like level 1 to like level 10, and then just get to the point of what you're trying to do. And that's the whole point of this game. It's like I want it to be kind of like somewhat casual, but I also want it to cater to people that like enjoy that hardcore min-maxing and stuff like that, where it's like you enjoy hardcore games, but you don't have the time to play them, and that's what this game is supposed to try to bridge that gap, where it's like, get on, you get things done, you get into the action, and it's like rewarding, So yeah, so what am I going to be working on next? This whole light thing, I eventually want to get it to be exactly the way I want it, and it's almost there, but it's not quite. So I'm going to be always working on that. I'm going to flesh out the weapons and abilities more so that, when I actually hit attack, he actually does his animation or like the long attack. I also will be doing the area effects type stuff. So you can see on these axes or on the, it's going to actually be not the weapon, but the ability is going to be, X quick, X long. It's going to have a damage type. So you see there's got this base damage stat ID, which is like, I can put in some kind of a stat that says, so there's health, hit points, mana points, physical defense, magic defense, strength, intelligence, agility, speed. Speed is just like your attack speed, basically. And so what that will do is it'll base the damage on that stat, and that's kind of my plan. And I don't really like the whole dual stat system. It seems kind of bullshit to me. Like in New World, they have this dual stat where some of the power of the weapon comes from one stat, but then like a portion of it comes from another stat, and I don't know, it just seems like a bunch of horseshit. Like, I don't know why maybe it's to balance things out or something, but To me, I just would rather have like a single stat do that. Um, but that's just me. But yeah, so the damage or the strength of the ability will be based on obviously the weapon itself, but then also a stat, and so that's kind of what that's for. And yeah, I think it's also got this layer mask, which right now I don't have all the layers that I will need to implement this, and I also want it to be more of a uh, I'll probably have it either be like friendly, maybe like friendly team, and like hostile, or something like that. So it's like, um, so for example, if there's an NPC in a dungeon, maybe I can use an ability on the NPC, and that will be like a friendly, or neutral or something like that, like friendly, neutral, hostile, and then like team, and then yeah, and so that way, so for example, like I can use a heal ability on on a teammate or on myself or an NPC. And so when I use that ability, it knows which layer to target, and it can be a bit mask, so it can be like multiple groupings and stuff like that. And so yeah, let me think. What else? So definitely the abilities, definitely the animations for the abilities, the area effects of the abilities, and I might even start putting in some enemies so I can actually start hitting stuff. So yeah, I think that's a good progress to move towards. And let me think, maybe some swapping. Maybe I'll throw in like a little weapon rack or something in here where like I can click it, and or I'll go over to it and use my interaction with it, and it'll let me swap weapons or something. I don't know, because in this game that I'm making, you're gonna be doing weapon swaps outside of the dungeon. So you're not actually going to be swapping anything inside the dungeon. You're just going to be killing stuff and gathering resources. And so it doesn't make a lot of sense to implement like a whole system for weapon swapping like in game, like in the dungeon if I'm not going to ever use it. So but I might do that just to try it out, just to like maybe I'll have like a sword on the ground and I go over there and hit my ability button, and it'll interact with the sword and change my weapon to sword. And so it'll be good just to see, just get that system working, maybe. So armor, weapon swapping, and abilities, and possibly some stuff to hit. Maybe nothing fancy, just some test dummies or something. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions on this video or anything that I presented here or any of my other videos before this, yeah, just let me know, and I'll maybe I can make like a like a informational video on how I did something specific, or anything like that. Just let me know. Thanks for watching and have a great day.